Hello, everybody. Wildman Z here. Hopefully, the few of you that are here watching this enjoy it, and maybe more people will join in fun over the next couple of weeks because I got some fun books here. I have not read these, but I'll tell you what. The title, the character is called Cormac MacArt. If that's not the worst name of a character I've ever read, I don't know. I mean, it's right up there with Tyrone Slothrop, right? It's an awkward sounding name. It's originally created by Robert E. Howard. I believe this one here was written by him. Tigers of the Sea, really cool cover. Vikings on it, can't be bad. And this one was written by Andrew J. Offfoot. I don't know how you pronounce that. Clearly, he took the book over when Robert E. Howard killed himself. He passed away very young. Don't know much about it. It's fun to read pulpy stuff once in a while. I like to squeeze it in and read a little book in that in like a few hours. Um, take a break from the hard stuff with some just goofy stories, weird tales. The Best of Gene Wolfe by Gene Wolfe. This is a definitive retrospective of his finest short fiction. It says advanced uncorrected proof. This was all I was able to get at thrift books of this particular book. It was really cheap, but that's fine. It's maybe got a few typos or errors in there. It's all good. I keep hearing about this guy that he's a really good sci-fi fantasy writer, so I want to read it. I have not read Shadow of the Torturer. I do have a copy of it upstairs. I only have one book in the series. I'm looking forward to reading it, fitting in one or two of his short stories in the next month or two. Here's a work of nonfiction that I'm really looking forward to read. It's called Extraterrestrial by A.V. Loeb. He used to be the president, or chairman, I should say, of chairperson of physics at Harvard. Either the physics or astrophysics. I think they're in the same department, though. Yeah, he's controversial because a couple years ago he proposed that an interstellar object that entered our solar system, due to the light reflectivity patterns that it exhibited, he calculated aspect ratio, like a book. He proposed that it was a very flat object, and he ultimately proposed that it could be a light sail from some sort of an extraterrestrial craft. Now, I need to read more about that because I have questions pop off automatically, like how he debunked other type of more reasonable things according to the physics we know, like an object with a certain geometry. Let's say it's a square, but one side of it is dull, like carbon black or soot-like material that absorbs a lot of light, and the other's about the same size but highly reflective like gold. That could give you a misleading aspect ratio from based on just scattering. So it's always nice to have a backup measurement with that. I don't know his rationality of that. Maybe that's rare in asteroids and stuff. I don't know that much about asteroid composition to be speak intelligently about it, but that's just something that popped off in my mind as somebody who does experimental science. Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and a culture in crisis by J.D. Vance. I was working on a short story for submission, which I actually did submit on Appalachia. It took place in Appalachia, but it also infused ancient Greek characters into modern day Appalachia, like in the post-Trump era. And I want to read about the culture there as of today. I didn't want to rely on seeing moonshiners on TV. And I got this book and I didn't read it. I was just writing so much my story and editing subsequent to that I just passed over my self-recommended reading on the background information I should have read. So we'll see. Maybe that will cost me in the long run, maybe not. Here's another book that I have not read, but it's I look forward to it. It's Wisconsin Country, a Sac Prairie Journal by August Derleth. I'm familiar with him in my readings about Lovecraft. I've read most of Lovecraft's work, and I think it's what's his name, S.T. Toshi, something like that. That editor always is bringing up August Derleth as basically somebody who followed up with Lovecraft's work after he passed away, kind of kept the flame going, always supported Lovecraft in his career. I've heard some of his stories on audiobook, like I think on Horror Babble, which is really cool if you like horror and weird fiction in audiobook form. And I wrote down on a piece of paper like a couple of names, and I kept writing his down like get this guy, he's really good. So I look forward to reading it. Although it does not strike me as something that is just a little mythos. It looks like a memoir from rural country, and that's fine too. A good writer's a good writer. So here's a couple bodybuilding books if you have any interest in that. I certainly do. I love to work out weights. Here's a book on Arnold Schwarzenegger it looks like from the 80s. That's definitely him around 1980 when he quit competitive bodybuilding. He won the Mr. Olympia in 1980, and it was a very controversial contest. He was not at his best. He was a lot bigger and more cut earlier on. But he's Arnold, and the bodybuilding is a wholly subjective sport. But a lot of pictures of his, some of them are just him hanging out, with a doll. Arnold with a doll. Definitely like an off-season photo of him, relaxing, and all sorts of pictures of Arnold and other guys. Here's Ed Corney, who was classic pumping iron era bodybuilder, who passed away recently. Written by George Butler. He's involved in Pumping Iron movie and good friends with Arnold. And he says that Arnold, talks about Arnold's motivation in there. It's really a book about Arnold's motivation to get ahead. This was, I think, written before Arnold became the governor. And, he predicted that he would be governor someday. And he always wanted to run for president, but he can't because he wasn't born in the United States. Here's the Pumping Iron book itself that does not have Arnold on the cover, which is interesting because Arnold is definitively the star of Pumping Iron. Why they chose to put Ed Corney on the cover, and there's nothing wrong with Ed Corney, but he had a relatively minor role in the movie. Unfortunately, Ed passed away a couple years ago. He was quite old. I've met some of the guys in here. Here's a guy I've met in New York at the bodybuilding contest. He used to go all the time. Leon Brown, he knew a friend of mine. He passed away recently. Really nice physique. Not a really big guy, but just really beautiful physique. That was another guy I know. He wasn't. Let's see if I can find him again. Nope, passed him. They have a picture of Steve Malik in here. He's a Long Island bodybuilder I've met a few times back in the day. Kind of a zany kid. Oh, here he is. He's not pumped up or anything. He's just wearing a shirt. But Steve Malik, he used to own a gym in Farmingdale, Long Island, called Mr. USA, Mr. America, something like that. And it was a bodybuilding gym, hardcore bodybuilding gym. I went there as a teenager a few times. It was not real close to me. It was maybe a half hour away or so. And boy, he was zany. He would put police tape around him when he was training. If you came in there, you'd fight. Like you literally, it was the type of gym where if you went into his training zone or other things happened, it was totally cool to go outside and to go toe to toe, and then everybody would come back in and work out. It was that kind of place. These days, you couldn't do that. It's different time, but hardcore bodybuilding, the blood, the sweat, and tears of Pumping Iron. That's Tom Platz on the cover. I've actually met him too. He's got incredible legs. I mean, like overly done. This is another '80s bodybuilding book put out by Robert Kennedy. There was two big names of bodybuilding back in the day. The big one was Joe Weider because he controlled Muscle Fitness, Muscle Builder, Flex, and then later Shape magazine for women. And his brother controlled the International Federation of Bodybuilders. So the other magazine was Muscle Mag International, which was a really good magazine. It was probably better than Muscle Fitness, had more real type of stuff in it. And this is a book about guys from the '80s working out. And here's just another book I'll show really quick called Beef It. Same kind of book. It's another book that I had in my teenage years. I think my mother threw it out. I bought another copy of it. They show guys training. There's Sergeant Ubrate, a black guy. He's doing a set of something. He's getting real tired. There's Mike Menser with a really nice back shot. I can recognize just from the back of who that is. And both of those men are deceased. Mike Menser died very young. He died in his 40s. Bodybuilding puts a lot of stress on the body. It's people don't talk about it, but even in those days, steroid use takes a toll on you over time. We eat a lot of protein. I still, in old age, I still eat over 200 grams of protein a day. I know it's toxic. We do things that aren't always healthy to the body to look a certain way and to have a certain level of performance. And they don't talk about that kind of stuff in the book. There's one paragraph on drugs. It says drugs. That's it. I just passed it. But they kind of ignored all that. And it's good because, when kids start that, they don't need to know about that kind of stuff. But I've seen a lot of these guys. He's deceased. This guy, Muhammad Makwi, took second to Mr. Olympia. Really good physique. I've seen him too. On that note, I'm going to leave off there. I'm running out of time. We're looking forward to a nor'easter up here in New York. Again, the storms these days are trifling compared to how they used to be. I'm looking for about 2 or 3 inches of snow. They're saying a foot. I seriously doubt it. And I hope everybody has a good day, and I'll make another video tomorrow or the next day, depending on how I feel. So, Wildman Z out. Take care.